Hi everyone, and welcome to Game & Friends. With all 9 of the central Silent Hill titles ranked and analysed, we decided to unwind with the black sheep, the black, undead, slightly demonic sheep of the series. Today, I'm talking about PT. It wouldn't really be fair to make this list and not mention PT, seeing as how it was the first properly decent representation of Silent Hill in about 10 years. Unfortunately, I also don't think it would be fair to rank it in the same category as the rest of the games, because technically, it isn't a game. I'm sure a lot of people will argue with this, but the way I see it, if this was released as a standalone title, rather than a teaser for Silent Hills, I would expect more from it. I'd be even less favourable again if I had to pay for it, which I'm sure would have diminished its popularity. This is only if I was judging it as a game. The thing is, it's not a game. It's a marketing device, and in all honesty, it's the best marketing device for an upcoming game I've ever seen, even if said game did get cancelled in the end. A moment of silence for a fallen comrade. Trailers are one of the easiest ways of marketing a game. You edit gameplay and a few cutscenes together in creative ways to give the viewer a general idea of what to expect. It's usually pretty inaccurate. It doesn't make sense to make a trailer for, say, a novel, because those are 2 different mediums. For some reason though, we accept it when it comes to games, simply because both are visual mediums. But video games are interactive. As the medium evolves, it gets more difficult to convey with a traditional trailer the sort of experience you are likely to have. Let's look at an example. Take the game Journey. Watching this trailer gives you an idea of what to expect from the game. You have a vague notion that it's going to be a platformy, explory and slidey sort of experience. And the soundtrack might imply that there's some emotional depth to it. But it doesn't really give you an indication of quality or of the overall experience. So if trailers don't work, what's the solution? Demos seem like the obvious choice. They're an alternative way games can market themselves, and you get a much better sense of the gameplay, tone, and overall approach a developer is taking with a game. Playing a little bit of Journey allows you to see how the gameplay is integral to the experience. It's far more suited to the medium than a trailer can ever be. The problem with this approach should be obvious to anyone who has ever played Journey. The game can be completed in less than an hour, which is close to the length of your average game demo. A demo needs to be long enough to establish the game's tone, mechanics, and gameplay, but it also has to be short enough so that it doesn't give a sizable chunk of the game away for free. In the case of Journey, that's a near impossible task. This is less an issue in larger games. 45 minutes of Skyrim gives you a good idea of what to expect, but is only a drop in the ocean in terms of actual content. What PT did for Silent Hills isn't the most ideal solution for developers. It requires additional work for a product that they don't make a profit on, and it doesn't contribute to the finished product. In fact, considering the amount of work required to put the concept demo together, it might even cause the game to be delayed. On the other hand, for consumers, it is the perfect answer to the marketing problem. By offering us what is essentially a mini spin-off title, collaborators Hideo Kojima and Guillermo del Toro gave us all the information we needed about the game experience. They showed the approach they plan to take. They displayed the quality of graphics and storytelling that we can expect to see. They set the tone without giving away the actual story. PT is a rare beast that tells us nothing and everything at the same time. Taking it as it is, the story is quite sparse, with the protagonist not really characterised at all. The entire plot revolves around waking up in a haunted house and trying to find your way out, while simultaneously learning more about the house's previous occupants. Personally, I like how it revisits some of the room aspects of Silent Hill 4, with a heavier emphasis on claustrophobia and hysteria. One of my favourite moments in the demo is when, after looping through the house nearly 20 or so times, The colour tone changes, the geography goes absolutely mental, and for some reason, you start walking like you've drank 15 Red Bulls in a row. It's an insane effect, but emotionally resonant as well. It reflects the frustrated hysteria of being trapped over an extended period of time, and it feels like the visual equivalent of screaming at the top of your lungs. For most people, the reaction to PT was the same. It's very bizarre, confusing, and of course, absolutely terrifying. This might seem like a very obvious thing to say, but that's my favourite thing about it. How scary it is. This is clearly a game that valued innovation when laying down the formula. A more timid director than Kojima might have been too afraid to stray from the standard Silent Hill formula. We've all seen how that works out. I think shaking things up so radically was a very effective approach. When I was younger, I often held the view with games that if it wasn't broke, don't fix it. I wasn't old enough at that point to see any of my favourite game franchises grow stagnant, so I just wanted them to stay the same. But that's exactly how fatigue sets in, and franchises grow stale. Just look at Assassin's Creed. Now, I realise that a franchise can only contain so many entries before it needs a shake-up, and Kojima obviously understood that. The most obvious influence here is Outlast, but I think it would be unfair to say it simply copies that game's style. Outlast is a game that wants you constantly in a state of panic, with very short periods of tension leading up to those moments. It's about 60% tension and 40% panic. PT, on the other hand, is 95% tension with only one standout jump scare. The reason the two are comparable is because they have similar levels of intensity. This is a really important distinction because while I like Outlast a lot, I don't think there's a huge amount of depth to it. PT understands horror a little better because it knows, better than any game series, the importance of not relieving the tension. And while that jump scare might be incredibly effective, it's nothing compared to this moment. This forces the player to move in the only direction they know they don't want to move in. And then what? Nothing. That's what. Now tell me, which moment feels scarier? Since its release, PT has been removed from the PlayStation Store, and only those who had it downloaded and saved to their PS4s still have access to it. If, like me, you can only play PT on a friend's console, it will remain in your memory, but it's difficult to revisit. It's like a ghost in the memory of players. And again, while I'm still very bitter, there is something very poetic about that.